the middle, and I am your host, Dave, here today. This is episode 97 on the CSS podcast. So today we are going to be talking a little bit about the football debate bracket for our topic of the week. And then finally, we will also be going into the week that was, which, to be quite honest, it was not a very good week for Cincinnati fans at all. But before we do that, we always want to check in with our hosts. Gentlemen, how are you doing this week?
Not too bad. Went golfing yesterday. Played all right. So
yeah, at least somebody did in the group.
Yeah,
because I sure in the heck didn't.
Yeah, it was a good week. I had to dip my toe back in my job and have a week-long online class that I took. So it was, from 9 to 5, I was staring at a computer screen. So it was a little rough, but did learn some stuff. So
are you going to apply it? That's the key.
Yeah, that's the question. We'll see.
I think I know the answer, but we won't. We'll let the folks out there chime in. Maybe we'll have a poll. Will Crawley use anything he learned?
Well, I better, because they're changing my class all around. So
So yeah, you better start using it.
Right.
All right, let's go right into the week that was. FC Cincinnati took 2 on the chin this week. Lost to Chicago, and then lost to the Red Bulls, I believe. And that's a 3-game losing streak for the boys in orange and blue. I know they were without Noonan because he got red carded there, or 2 yellows at the very end of the game. So that he couldn't, be on the sideline. I don't know how much that actually played into it, but and they also lost another player for a red card as well. So, gentlemen, what's your take on FC Cincy? Is it just a temporary thing? I know they've got a month-long sort of break because of the leagues, but we'll see. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Leagues Cup couldn't come soon enough. I think it just gives them an opportunity to, get a little healthy and hopefully try and find some form. So, Lucho didn't play against, was it Chicago he didn't play against? And then he came on as a sub against New York. So, we didn't score in either of those games. So, you really see how much we missed his creativity out there because, like we said countless times this year, if he's not the one creating, there's not a whole lot of chances happening. They've lost 3 in a row. I didn't think the last 2 games the defense was all that bad. They just couldn't create anything offensively to capitalize on it.
Did they lose 3 games in a row last year even?
I don't think they did.
Is this the first time?
I think it's like
2 years.
Yeah, in 2 years.
Did they lose 3 games in a row 2 years ago even? And they made the playoffs that year. They had a good season. Maybe early in the year.
I think I saw it was like April of 2022, I think might have been.
Yeah.
The first time that they've lost 3.
So it would have been early,
early
that 2 seasons ago. So yeah, I think unfortunately this is the culmination of just kind of the craziness that's been going on the last month with them. Nothing, not necessarily that they've done. They've lost the 2 guys, 2 defensemen injuries. Miles Robinson's been in and out because of the national team call-up stuff. They've gotten a lot less out of Bupenza. They got nothing out of him this year. Baird came back and actually scored the goal, but they haven't got a lot out of him this year. So, I think they've done a little bit of. The power of Lucho and Luca and some of these 4 or 5 guys that have carried the team. In the MLS, things are so close to each other. You don't rarely win 6-1 like they did against Miami. Most games are 1 to 2 goals. So things that were going well for 90% of the season now all of a sudden are not. So they on break. MLS break. This is, the Leagues Cup, in reality, who cares that much about it? So hopefully they can use this time to rest up. Well, they got 2 weeks. I don't
2
know. I
weeks,
don't
yeah,
actually know.
I
2
think.
weeks.
Yep.
So hopefully Luca or Lucho will be back full go. I know he's got to captain the All-Star team, but hopefully that's not that big a deal. And Miles, who knows with Miles Robbins in the Olympics, how long? I don't know. Sam, do you know if that's in the early first half or second half of the Olympic stuff?
I mean, he's already left for the Olympic team, I think.
But I mean, in terms of when the games are, I know the women play in the first half of the Olympics. I don't know.
If the men do too, yeah, because they actually start before the Olympics start. They'll start playing games just because it's set up, with your groups and then knockout rounds. So they have to start a little early.
So he probably won't be back even in those 2 weeks. Then I would guess to be able to play yet. So
and he's going to be suspended the first game. He's actually eligible.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, So, yeah, I mean, they got to regroup. Obviously, I mean that's the understatement. So, see what they can do. I mean, Lucho's going to have to do even more than he's been doing to try to pull him out of this.
Yeah, it says here that August 24th is their next match. So,
I mean, he'll be back on
August 24th.
August 24th, yeah.
That's the next match for
like
FC
MLS.
Cincy?
MLS, yeah.
Oh, that's a month away then.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize Leagues Cup took that long.
Yeah,
that's what the Inquirer just had. Is like August 24th.
So I would assume with Leagues Cup, their first game will be their second team for the most part.
Yeah, it has to be. I think
the further they get into the tournament, they might play their more better and better guys, but you can't run. I mean, these guys need a break. I mean, with between the results and just wearing down over the season.
Right. So when's or has it passed the the window to add players?
It's still open.
Yeah, It doesn't close.
Maybe the end of July or something.
I think it's the end of August.
I don't know. It was that
long. MLS might be a little different than Europe. Europe's is until the end of August, but I'm not sure when MLS's is.
Secondary window opens on Thursday, July 18th, and closes on August 14th.
So August 14th. Okay. So they still got
a month.
Weeks. Yeah.
Well, you think they're going to do anything?
I think they have to add a defender. They have to at least try. Just a veteran that you don't have to go out and buy a all-star, but just a veteran presence that can come in, is not going to make mistakes just because you just don't have the guys to consistently play three at the back like Noonan likes to do. So I think they have to add another center back.
Well, let's hope this little break breaks the momentum of the negative losing streak here, and that when they come back, they'll be fresh and ready and can get on that run and either win the Supporters Cup again or Shield, and then get ready for the playoffs. So let's hope this break does them well. Up next, we have some Bengals news here. Training camp starts July 24th through August 20th. Any battles that you guys are interested in looking at?
Third wide receiver. Let's see if it goes to Burton or Yoshi. I would assume those would kind of be the two guys.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the primary third receiver? And then, I mean, it's not really a battle, but then kind of none of the three receivers have traditionally played the slot. So then who's going to play, more in the slot? I'm hoping that Chase gets work out of the slot.
Yeah, from some reports, they were saying that Chase will be moving a little bit into.
I need to step away for a second.
All right.
I'll be right back.
Not a problem.
So,
all right. So Chase would be in the slot as far as the not all the time, but just put him in there, sort of like what Kansas City would do with Tyreek and things like that. Just
try and create a matchup.
Right. So let me put Crawley here on mute real quick. Yeah. So, hopefully, they'll be able to do that. I'd like to see the cornerback. You see how what's his name, Dax Hill responds from being pushed out of the safety to the corner, and then see how our backup tackles do, because I know
offense or defense.
Defense. I mean offense. Because rumor has it, not rumor, but there's some reports out there, speculation that Jackson Carman and Smith could be cut, just because they haven't produced in their 3 years with the team.
I wouldn't be surprised if Carman ends up getting cut. I really wouldn't.
Yeah. So, that's something that be of interest, and Burrow getting his haircut, so who knows? Hopefully, he's ready to roll. He doesn't have that Samson effect. And the other big news before training camp, T. Higgins did not sign. They did not come into an agreement, which we all didn't think they would.
Yeah.
But, he's going to play out and then he's going to walk, unless they trade him. You think they will?
I don't know. They're gonna, because I don't think that they'll get the value. I think they see it very similar to Jesse Bates. He's gonna walk. They'll get a 3rd round comp pick, and they'll be like, "We're not really gonna get better than that, or substantially better than that." Maybe they could have gotten a 2nd round pick via trade, but 2nd round pick for next year, or have T. Higgins for this year and try and make a run. I think you keep Higgins and you try and make a run.
I think if
top pick at the 3rd round next year,
depending on how these wide receivers, these rookies, young guys perform, sort of like what we'll be talking about with the Reds here in a little bit. Higgins is gone, and if for some reason he's not producing, or Bengals are just right around that 500 mark, maybe try to trade him then and get something for him. And let the youngins play. I mean, the Bengals, football's a little different than baseball, just because 500 you can still, make the playoffs and stuff. Oh, all right.
I guess we can finish.
Yeah.
Do the Reds and then save the debate for next. So, the Bengals historically just don't trade, so I can't imagine them actually making a trade in season, especially for someone who I think they view as still a key player for them, at least, just this season, not long term, obviously.
Right.
They haven't re-signed him. And Yoshi showed some stuff in flashes last year, but I don't know that he's ready to be a number 2. Burton, he's going to be a rookie. Watching him at Alabama, I think he's ready, but still an adjustment period.
It is.
So, you kind of still need Higgins. I don't think you can just not have him this year.
No. You need him, but in the same token, if Gesicki steps up and they utilize him more, that takes a little bit of pressure off Chase. Chase is going to get double teamed. If Higgins is there, not as much, but they'll roll the coverage to him.
Which is why I think you put Chase in the slot. That helps eliminate some of the double teams.
Yep. All right. So Crawley will not be with us the rest of the evening. He's got a phone call. He had an emergency that he had to deal with. So it's just going to be Sam and I for the rest. And we probably will not do our football debate today, just because, Sam can't really debate against himself. So can't do both sides of the debate. So we'll wait, postpone that until next week. Our apologies for that, but emergencies do arise. So we are live, so we couldn't edit this out. And speaking of being live, if you want to check us out on YouTube, You can do so usually Sunday evenings around 7:30. We go live, or on Facebook, we're live as well. Just look for Cincy Sports Scene. If you have any questions, or if you want to try to answer our trivia questions or anything like that, you can always find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Cincy Sports Scene. So please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you know when we are releasing new content. And please be sure to tell your friends, especially the Cincinnati fans that are no longer living in Cincinnati. They can keep up on all the latest news and stuff here at the Cincy Sports Scene. Okay, so let's move on to, I guess, the Reds.
We can go on for a while about the Reds.
Yeah. So, I think the sound you're hearing is, the nails going in the coffin. So I think, this coming out of the gate, I don't know, I was hopeful that they would take a series from Washington, at least win game one from Washington. I have a couple of thoughts and a couple of, I guess, questions onto, I don't know, rotation, setting your rotation after the All-Star break.
I do too.
I don't understand why Montez got the ball in game one. Game one, I mean, I know he's our opening day starter, but he has not pitched very well at all this year.
No.
I mean, he has ups and downs, and that's not to take anything away from the guy. I mean, this is his first year off of the injury, and so he's going to have that, right? I mean, it's going to take you, next year's the year where he's probably going to win 20 games, but this year is not the year for that. The Reds took a big flyer on him, $14 million plus a 2-year option, $2 million option buyout. So it's going to be $16 million. I just, you had Lodolo who could have came out. I mean, he didn't pitch very well either, but he could have had that. I know Hunter Green pitched in the All-Star game, so yeah, he's not going to pitch right out of the break, but
he couldn't have pitched Saturday or today. I mean, he threw an inning in the All-Star game, and the last time he pitched was 4 days before the All-Star game.
I don't know when he pitched, but yeah. So that is, one thing. The other thing is, okay, these guys they were on the All-Star break, so some of them had 4 days off, and then you're platooning people. And I mean, Tyler Stevenson was in the game, but he was DH and he wasn't behind the plate, so that's okay. But I don't know. I just wish he would just stick with the lineup and just ride it out. But especially right out of the break, because we have been notorious.
Yeah, guys don't need days off right now. They just had 4 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, they need to get in there, and that's probably what Bell was thinking with his reserves. Like, well, they've had a whole week off, and they need to at least get one game in. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating, the rotation, like position player. The rotation of the lineup. It's never consistent. I mean, he moved Marte up in the lineup today. I mean, Marte hit a home run, but outside of that, he didn't do anything.
Right. I mean, the first 4 has been pretty consistent with India, Ellie, Candelaria, and Steer, and then Stevenson. So really, the first 4 or 5 have been pretty consistent there the last couple of weeks, I guess. Ever since India went back to the leadoff, I think it's been consistent there. But it's just, 5 through 9, 6 through 9. It's
rough. I mean,
it's rough.
Reese Hines was, for the week there before the All-Star break, but I think the All-Star break kind of killed his momentum. He didn't look good in the 2 games he played.
No, but there's again, it's like he's 22 years. He doesn't need a day off. He's at 4. He needs to be in there. Yeah. You don't, as much as as much as Bell probably wanted to give him a rest just to clear his mind because he didn't have 2 good games. No, get him in there, let him work his way through, struggle through that. I don't know.
I'm more upset with the starting rotation coming out, starting Montas game 1. I don't know. I would have went Lodolo there, and then gone Abbott, and then gone Green today, and then Montas can go next week or starting on Monday. But that's just me because I'm thinking of it. We need to keep our momentum going, right? We just won 2 straight series going into the break. We need to win this
right.
3rd series in a row to get ourselves what that would put us at 500 if we took 2 out of 3 going into playing the Rays and Atlanta. 2 pretty good ball clubs. So, which I mean, we play good ball clubs, good. So who knows? Maybe we'll win these 2 series and
maybe.
And
that's
fine.
And that's the frustrating part is it's like you got the momentum, you beat some good teams, and then you play crappy against people that we think they should beat, and they don't.
Well, especially the Nationals when they threw Patrick Corbin, who literally is the worst pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. That's not subjective. That's a fact. That's how bad he is. And he looked like a Cy Young. He looked like he should have been in the All-Star game. He looked against the Reds.
Yeah, I turned it off after Montas gave up home run number 2 to make it 7-1, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I was listening to it on the radio, and I turned it off too. I'm not. And then of course I start getting these updates in the 9th. Oh, they're making a comeback, so I turn it on, and then whoever it was struck out to end the game. Or
Ellie struck out to end the game.
So I mean, so then it makes it look like, oh, they only lost 8-5 or 8-6 or whatever.
Right,
but it's like, no, they lost 8-1, and they just kind of threw something together there at the end, And if they did score those runs, so if Montas hadn't given up 7, I mean, you can figure that you probably should have won that game. But
right.
But I mean, this team doesn't respond to pitchers giving up runs like they did last year with Luke Weaver. They don't have, for whatever reason, if Luke Weaver was on the mound, they were going to put up a 10 spot and win the ball game. But they're not going to do that this year. If the starter doesn't have it, the game's over by the 4th or 5th inning.
Right.
Not coming back. They're, I think, 8-19 in 1-run ball games this year.
8-19, yep.
I mean, you're not going to be a playoff team if you got to be at least around 500.
Yeah. Well,
preferably above. But
the Reds were above last year. I mean, so they were. I can't remember. I mean, they were almost the opposite.
They were actually really good in 1-run games.
Right. And they had 10 comeback victories in the last inning. And they're not doing that.
One this year?
I think they have 1.
Do they?
I think. But yeah. So, it's just one of those things that, Friday night was frustration because you were like, all right, we had 2 All-Stars, 3 counting David Bell, and we need to capitalize on that momentum, and we come out flat. And then we have Austin Slater in the dang ball game going 0 for whatever. Both games, Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, he's been bad.
He needs we'll get to that here in a minute. But, Saturday, I mean, I watched probably 4 innings, and I turned it off because Lodolo was struggling in that 4th again. He just, it seems like the 4th inning is the inning that the Reds can't get through. And it was a boring game. I mean, I was sitting there watching. I'm like, there is nothing happening. It's just boring. No excitement, nothing. And it's like, well, the Reds aren't taking quality at bats. Washington wasn't doing anything either. So it's just like, geez, this is pretty bad. And I'm turning it off. And I was like, heck with this. And then I get the update that, they lost. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Lost 6-5, thank you, whatever. And then today, they lose 5-1 or 5-2 or whatever it was. Abbott pitched great, went 7 innings, 6 2/3 innings.
Yep.
And
2-2. Lucas Sims gets into trouble. They bring in Steele, 1 pitch, and boom.
Yep.
5-2 ball game just like that. And, the game was over. You knew they weren't scoring 3 runs in the 9th.
No.
You knew they weren't doing that. So
yeah.
Just...
So, more bad news on the front. Brent Suter is out 4 to 6, 8 weeks, somewhere around there, with a torn teres major muscle in his back, right? So the teres minor major is right back in here. He felt something pop when he was warming up. Didn't really bug him too much, but then after he went out the second inning of relief work, his velocity was way down, and he just said, yeah, it's not good. But he was hoping that it would be something minor. He felt something like that earlier in the year last year, and he, had a couple of days rest and he was fine. So he's hoping it was something like that. Instead, it's the curse of the Reds, and Pedro Bourbone's curse is back, and it's our pitchers are getting injured left and right. So he's out. Brings up Casey Legumina.
It'd have been nice to have another lefty, maybe named Alex Young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Might have been nice.
Might have been nice. But now we got to live with Justin Wilson, and I know he's been pitching better.
Yeah, not today.
Not today.
Is he's the only lefty we have right now?
No, Maul.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Maul. Yeah, that's right.
But David Bell. Suter was the most worked pitcher. He had almost 50 innings, and he would go 1 or 2 2 innings at times. Sometimes he'd spot start. Sometimes he was when they went bullpen day, he was that starter. So now the question is, their TBD for Tuesday, because Hunter Greens goes Monday. Carson Spears is not eligible yet to come off. So is it a bullpen day there? But Nick Martinez goes 5 after the 2. He comes in the 3rd and tries to go 4 or 5 innings to get you.
That'll probably end up what they do, because I don't think they have anybody that they want to bring up. Because Ashcraft is on the IL too, so he's
right.
They can't even bring him up if they wanted to. And I don't know that they really like anybody else right now. Rhett Lauder's not ready. It doesn't sound like he's ready to come up.
No, Aguilar, I don't think he's ready.
Yeah, so unless they, find somebody on the waivers or.
And Phillips is in rookie ball. Arizona Complex League.
Yeah, Petty's progress. So. Yeah. Ryan Richardson's.
Yeah.
That's. Yeah, that was just an arm they called up last year because they literally had nobody. So.
Right. So it's just it's going to be rough going into Atlanta because they're fighting for a playoff spot as well, and then Tampa Bay. So it's our bats better start waking up and being consistent throughout, or else I think it's sell time.
Yeah, if they don't win each of these next 2 series, because that'll put us pretty much at the trade deadline, right? Trade deadline's next week, I think.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks?
I think it's like August 1st.
Is it August 1st? Okay, so they still got 10 days.
Yeah.
So 3 more series, but you kind of got to make a decision prior to the All-Star trade deadline. So.
And I know the hope is, it repeats what we're talking about is like they're going to, Friedel got assigned to AAA.
Great. He wasn't any good this year when he was up here.
Right. last year was a great year for him. And to replicate that, it's tough to do in the major leagues. You have to be really good. And he got bit by the injury bug. And we've seen that play out before if a guy gets injured and
they're never 100%.
And it's tough to be productive when you're injured. I mean, look at CES, right? I mean, this year it was tough for him. I know he's a spark plug. He's a leader. The guys love him. Yeah, but I don't know. It's not enough. And I think if we're just fiddle farting around 500, winning a series here, winning a series there, going 5-on-5 for this road trip again.
Yeah,
they're going to be like, well, we'll get Friedel back, we'll get McLean back. We're not going to do anything. And so with that, you might as well start looking at 2025, which is what we are doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what we're getting ready to do. Yeah, I think that's what the front office needs to get ready to do too. Because I don't know. It's been disappointing because they had so much promise last year and they didn't do anything to capitalize on it.
Right. And
it just makes this year even more frustrating because next year's success is never guaranteed, and we're living that right now. They had a chance to make one or two moves that wouldn't have. I mean, unless they went superstar hunting, but they could have made some moves for some solid pieces starting pitching primarily that would have got them into the playoffs last year. And I mean, that's where we're at as a fan base, is that we want to be in contention. We want to make the playoffs. We can worry about winning championships later, but we got to get to the dance first.
Right. Because if you can't get in, you're never going to win.
You're never going to win.
So you have to get in.
Yeah.
And, the last 2 years, the wild card team has advanced.
Yeah.
So,
Arizona.
Yep.
Who was
And
the
Texas.
third wild card team. Yep. Made the World Series. Yeah, it's Arizona specifically because they were the ones that, beat us out for the third wild card spot.
Yep.
And Arizona was not better than we were. I didn't think so. So
pitching wise they were, but not.
Yeah, but even as an overall team, I didn't think that they were. And then we figure, Green, Lodolo be healthy all year this year, so we should be taking that step forward. And I mean, to Green and Lodolo's credit, they've been pretty good.
Right, they have.
But it's not on them, why we haven't been good. But I don't know. They just don't seem to make the right free agent signings. Montas wasn't a correct signing. Pagan was not a correct signing. Martinez has been okay, but they're still overpaying him for him.
Right, for a reliever.
Since the Castellinis are cheap, that's money that's not going to be used somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, that's Candelario's been. I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
He's been disappointed. He had one good month. I mean, end of May, first couple of weeks of June.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd have rather had Votto. And even if Votto would have sucked, I still would have rather had him. Just because the guys were familiar with him.
Yeah.
We heard it from Benson himself. Like, the team misses having Votto there.
Right.
So, I mean.
Well, but Votto, but here's the thing, right? I mean, he hasn't played one game. I mean.
No, he hasn't.
AAA. Got injured again.
In Arizona, not in AAA, he doesn't roll his ankle on a baseball in the dugout,
Who knows, right? I mean, but yeah. But the Reds weren't going to pay him $20+ million.
Yeah.
When you can play.
Well, but that's everybody's stuck on that $20 million. Like, nobody was going to pay him that. He was a free agent. He signed a minor league deal with the Blue Jays.
Right.
So you're telling me as the Reds, you couldn't have signed him back for a couple million less?
Well,
than
but he.
Candelario?
Well, I think he made it known to the Reds that he wanted to play every day. He wasn't going to sit the bench. He didn't want to be a role player for his last hurrah. And the Reds no, which I was okay with because you needed to see if you had CES.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to. I mean, because in hindsight, Votto, if he's healthy, play him now because CES is not. And because, you wanted to see what CES did, McLean, Ellie, Steer, Marte, right? Friedel, Benson, all these guys, Fraley, this year to see, okay, moving forward in 2026 or 2025, are they on our team or not? Now you got all these questions of,
okay, you're rolling the questions over for next year.
For next year, CES our first baseman. What about Jonathan India? What about McLean now? Is McLean going to have that regression that pretty much everybody had in year 2, besides Ellie? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of left with more questions going into next year than we had coming into this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not where you need to be if you want to be a contending ball club.
Well, since we're talking about next year, we've been adding a little segment to the Reds part. Last week we talked about the rotation. This week, let's look about the infield in 2025. So we already mentioned a few. CES. You got McLean. You've got De La Cruz, Marte, Candelario, and then India. Spencer Steer.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you, and then you got Edwin Arroyo.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Arroyo just because he was injured this year.
Right.
I think they're going to plan on him being in AAA or double or AAA pretty much all year.
AAA, yeah.
And, if there's injuries and he needs to be called up, then he will be. But I don't think they're planning on him being ready or being on the big league club next year. I mean, to me, I think second, short, and third is set. McLean, Ellie, Marte. I think India is probably your DH. I think the questions are going to be first base. Do they stick with Candelario? Do they try and move him and go CES? Do they try and move CES? Or do they go, you know what? We've got an opportunity to get an outfielder, so Steer's our first baseman, and we're going to redo the outfield. So I think first base is kind of a big question on the infield. Because, I mean, Stevenson's going to be behind the plate. He's had a pretty good bounce back year. I really like what he's done this year. So I think he's going to be behind the plate, no question. Ellie at short, McLean at second. I think they're going to still stick with Marte at third. And then I would say India is the DH.
I think India gets traded at the deadline.
This deadline?
I do. I think he gets. I mean, even though I said Crawl and them value him, they're not going to trade him. But especially if we're still 4 games out, they're not going to trade him. But if all of a sudden we lose 7 of the next 9, right, or 7 of 9 on this trip, and we fall 7 games back, 6 games back of the wild card, 7 games back. I mean, we've got to jump 7 teams, pretty much. I think we have to jump 4 teams now to get to that third wild card. And that's real hard to do, even though we're only 3 games back. It's real hard to jump, that many teams. And the way India is hitting, he will bring something back, whether it's a middle of the, like a Sam Moll type. If it's
but why would you bring somebody back for the big league team if you're getting rid of a
big leaguer?
Yeah,
because you need arms. You need arms. And if they've decided that they can't make the playoffs, or they're we might as well get something now.
Which I would be fine with. I think it's a mistake to trade India, but if that's the
thought, me too. But I think
then get something now for him while he's got more value, because he still have this year and then 2 more years before free agency. So, I get it, and you're a contending team, yeah, I mean, you should be calling the Reds about India. Someone to put at your leadoff spot, and I mean, you probably want to DH him. So if you don't have a DH or if you don't have a leadoff hitter, I'd be calling the Reds about India. I really would. So maybe, if they do decide to go that route, they can actually get, a good haul for him. I'd hate to see him go for just, middle relievers that are big leaguers or low-level prospects that, may or may not turn into anything.
Well,
I think that would be a waste. I'd rather have him.
And I don't think that will happen. I think, Crawl. This is pretty much every fan base and not quite every major league team, but I think we overvalue our players, right? Overestimate how much they're worth out there on the trade market. Because, it does take two to make a trade. So, you hear all these trades, like going in, oh, we need to trade X, Y, and Z for Robert and the pitcher from
Cease,
Dylan Cease. And it's like, well, yeah, but you have to have the other side has to be willing to, and they were asking the moon for Cease, and Crawl was like, no, we're not trading any of our prospects. So I don't know. I think the way the Reds are ran, the way the Reds have been drafting, right? I mean, look at their draft, the rest of the draft here, which I really liked. I really did like the draft, and I'm okay with Barnes going number one. I mean, for him. I mean, I would have liked to have, but at the same time,
we talked about it after he got drafted, and we kind of figured he would go for below slot value. That's why you took him.
Yeah,
and then for him to get full slot and set the record for signing bonus.
Right.
Kind of disappointing, honestly. I mean, that puts a lot of pressure on him. He's got to turn into an ace. He really does.
Yeah.
He's got to. Otherwise, that's a wasted pick. Just for him to come up and be an average big leaguer, that's a wasted pick. Especially if any of those bats that went after him pop.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing, because looking at the landscape of Cincinnati Reds, it's easier to go out and get that bat than it is to go out and get a frontline pitcher. Yeah,
because they haven't done it. What bat have they gone out and got?
No, but that's what I'm saying. They haven't yet, but they haven't gotten a frontline starter either, and because the frontline starters aren't coming to pitch in Great American Ballpark. That's part. They're not going to pitch half their games there, and then their ERA balloons. They will get the prove it or show it year, right? Montas.
The Montas. Well, I guess Bauer was a trade, wasn't he? So
Bauer was a trade.
Not the same thing.
Right. Sonny Gray was a trade, right? But when was the last big free agent signing?
Pitcher? I don't know that I can think of one. I really don't.
I mean, that came in and was lights out. I don't.
Because what? Harang was probably a trade. Arroyo?
Harang was a trade. Arroyo was a trade.
Arroyo was a trade? I thought, okay. I couldn't remember if he was a trade or not.
Yeah, he was a trade. Harang was a trade because he was.
He was with Oakland, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Latos was a trade.
Yeah.
We get the Dan Straley's of the world. Comes in, makes one good year, we ship them off, right?
That got us Luis Castillo. So
yeah.
Not too bad. But on the same breath, what hitter did we get outside? We got Castellanos, which was a good one. But
you got Ludwig, even though he was past his prime.
He's kind of
but he still hit some home runs.
Roland, would you say Roland?
Roland, yeah. I mean, in
Okay, and
theory,
that's not
no,
this front office either.
Right. In theory, Moustakis, in theory,
Right, but that's in theory.
didn't produce.
Work out. That's usually how it plays
right.
out.
That's usually how it plays out. Right. Candelaria.
Right.
So,
But
Puig.
Puig.
I mean, that was a trade.
That's true. That was
that three-way trade with the Dodgers and Atlanta, I think it was, or whoever. But it is easier to go out and get a bat than
that just makes it even more frustrating that they haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're, we kind of mentioned it last year, but if you're Cody Bellinger, wouldn't you love to hit in the ABP?
Yeah.
And,
I think he loves to hit against the Reds more than he does in GABP. Him and Ian Happ, man. And Candelaria too. Apparently, he loves to hit against the Reds because he sure isn't hitting for the Reds. So I don't know. I mean, it's just, to me, I think if we're out of it, you've got to let these younger guys play, just to see what the heck they got. And I know we're doing that now, but I don't know. It's frustrating because of the injuries, because this just pushes the all in to 2026. I mean, it does.
It
this
year's
does.
a lost year. And,
right.
I mean, it's good for Ellie's development, Hunter Green, Lodolo. So there's some individual guys, but as a collective, you pretty much lost a year.
Yeah, you lost a year, and that arbitration year starts clicking. Ellie's free agency. It's clicking.
Yeah, 2029 is coming around a lot faster than you realize. Yeah.
So,
because if he develops like everybody's projecting, he's gone. The Castellinis physically could sell every single asset they own and wouldn't have enough money to pay him.
Right.
That's you gotta Kansas City Royals this thing real quick.
Right. But Boris is his agent. He's going to take him to free agency.
He's not signing.
No, he's not.
He's not signing, and then he's gonna, the Reds aren't gonna be able to pay him.
No.
But I mean, I don't want to worry about that.
No, I don't either.
Talk about that. Just keep him honestly, just keep him healthy the rest of this year.
Yeah.
I don't need him, sustaining a major injury that really pushes into next year. I think that would be worst case scenario now for this season.
Yep. It will be. All right. Let's move on here. So we've got, I know it's only been 3 games, but we always have a pitcher hitter of the week and a player who should be demoted.
Yep. Pitcher. I'll go pitcher. I'll go Abbott. Just, these last 3 games, I thought he was the best starter of Washington. And, Hunter Green didn't do anything. He pitched pretty poorly in the All-Star game. So,
gave up the go-ahead bomb. Yeah. Typical.
Yeah, it seems like every time a Reds pitcher's in the All-Star game, they're responsible for the national team losing in some way, shape, or form, which is disappointing. But
yeah.
I thought Abbott's start today was really good.
I did too. So hitter of the week. I mean, could be Tyler Stevenson. Had a good.
That's who I was going to say, Stevenson. Just because if Rhys Hines doesn't come up last week, I think it's Stevenson last week.
Right.
So I think just we'll give it to him this week. Kind of kept it going.
Yep, that's good there. And who should be demoted?
I was going to say Montas. I said Slater last week. I don't want to say him 2 weeks in a row, so I'm just going to say Montas.
Wow. Yeah. Gosh. That's. I mean, Benson made some nice plays in the field today for his opportunity. Fraley hits
Frank
the ball.
has no power. He still just
nothing.
had 1 home run and 14 RBIs.
Right. So, yeah. So why is he batting 6th, 7th? You know, he needs to be down to number 9.
He was 5th today. He's batting 5th today.
He needs to be down 9.
Because he's still hitting, like, what, 270, 280? He's got
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, why not put him at the bottom of the order and turn the lineup?
Turn it over. Yeah. But, yeah. You know, Frankie.
He's been bad.
I'm going to say Lucas Sims again, just because I know I said he should have been demoted, DFA'd, whatever, but I think his time is coming to an end in Cincinnati, unfortunately, because he's had some decent years for us. But I think
he's a candidate to be traded. I don't know if you want to do that, kind of, if we're sellers who we move off of, but I think he's a name on the list. He's a free agent for this year anyway.
He's a free agent. Get rid of him. Bring back a low-level prospect, and who knows?
And who knows? Maybe you strike gold. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Do you want to do the trivia, or do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty straightforward. I was just a little Hall of Fame trivia. So I was just going to have you name all 9 Hall of Famers that went in as Reds players.
As Reds players?
Yeah, so they're as Reds players in the Hall of Fame.
9.
Yep.
All right, so here we go. We got Bench.
Bench is 1, yep.
Morgan's 2. Perez
is 3.
Hall of Fame. Is there like Larkin?
Larkin's 4.
Is it Bib McPhee or whatever? Was he a Hall of Famer? Or Bud McPhee?
McPhee?
Or McFay or Bud, Bib, Bib.
No.
Am I close? It's like a 1900 guy or something like that.
Yeah, there's a couple. So there's 2 in the class of 62 and 1 in the class of 63.
Oh, so 62. So not Gus Bell's not in the Hall of Fame. So Fred Hutchinson, he's not in.
You're missing a pretty obvious one too.
Foster's not in the Hall of Fame. Griffey's not in the Hall of Fame.
Before them.
Is there? Just trying to think here. Vida Pinson, Frank Robinson's in.
Yep.
He's in with the Reds?
In with the Reds. On Hall of Fame's, on the Baseball Hall of Fame website, he's listed as the Reds, not the Orioles.
Oh, I thought he was listed as the Orioles. So Frank, is there?
You're missing 4.
Is there?
Like I said, 2 in the class of 1962, 1 in 1963, and 1 in 1986. 86, but he got in really late.
So I said Perez already.
Mm-hmm.
Concepcion's not in.
Nope. Nope. This guy was before them.
Just trying to think. I should know this. Is Nuxall in there? He's in the radio. No, he's not in the Radio Hall of Fame, is he?
No, that's just Marty.
Not Jim Mahoney, or I don't think there's any pitchers. These are all everyday players, right?
See, I think the one guy is a pitcher. Yeah, one of the guy from the class of 63 was a pitcher. I don't even know who this guy is. So
Vandermeer, not Vandermeer.
Nope.
Gordy.
Nope. So you got a pitcher, center fielder.
Vida Pinson?
Not Vida Pinson, nope. And a catcher.
Center fielder. Not Wally Post, Gus Bell. Not Ted Kolizewski. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I mean, that center fielder was well before your time.
Yeah. It's not I'm just trying to think of Ernie Lombardi.
Ernie Lombardi. There you go.
Ernie Lombardi. There's my catcher.
Yeah. So you got pitcher, center fielder.
Pitcher and center fielder. Not Vandermeer, Johnny Vandermeer.
Nope.
Jim Mahoney. I don't know. We can save it for tomorrow or for the next week.
Yep.
For those. I might come up with them later, but I don't know. So if you think you know them, go ahead and throw them in the chat
I'll
here.
say I wouldn't have gotten them unless I was looking at the list. So, yeah.
So go ahead. Sparky Anderson, though. Is he a Red or is he a Tiger?
He's not listed on the Reds.
Okay.
Let's see if he's listed on the Tigers. Let's see here.
I mean,
some of these guys, they go in with no affiliation too. So let's see, Detroit Tigers. Yeah, Sparky's in as a Tiger.
boo.
Yeah.
All right. So if you think you know the answer, go ahead, and if you're watching us live, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. If you're not, if you're listening to us on all your podcasting platforms, go ahead and hop on over to Instagram or Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene and just send us a comment of who the trivia, if you know the 9 Reds that went in as Cincinnati Reds. All right. This time would be our debate, our topic of the week. But since Crawley is out, he had an emergency, so he apologizes for that, for not being here. We are going to save that for next week. We might actually pop on maybe one day this week in the evening, but we'll send something out just to do the debate bracket. But you got anything, Sam, for the good of the order here?
No, I mean, U.S. men's national team still hasn't hired a coach, but we'll just keep our eyes on that. There's some promising names that have been linked, so as long as they don't hire Gareth Southgate, who is England's coach, I think we'll be all right. So,
well, we'll see. It's
basically he was Greg Berhalter, but just with an accent. So same exact guy. So I really hope that they do not hire him, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
Oh, well, let's hope that the Red Legs come on strong here, give us some more hope, and we'll have some Bengal camp news probably, because training camp opens up Wednesday, so we'll have some stuff there, and hope FC Cincinnati's off for a week, or for a while, I should say. So we'll talk maybe a little college football, etc. So until next week, everybody have a wonderful week.
See you.